Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome. And thank you very much for taking the time and joining our fourth webinar for the new IATF CARA tool today. My name is Daniela Huch, and I work for TÜV Rheinland as the Global Product Manager Automotive. Today, I would like to explain the new mandatory IATF CARA tool to you. But before we start, maybe some quick guidelines for this webinar. First of all, everybody will be muted in order to reduce background noise. We have quite a big group and we want everybody to hear clearly. The video for participants is disabled in order to have adequate bandwidth. Questions can be raised by using the functionality bar in the Zoom tool. So please use the Q&A function in order to have a question. What is possible is you can upvote questions. So if somebody already asked a question and you find that it's the same question you want to ask too, please like it or upvote it so it comes to the top when we later on have a Q&A session. At the end, we will go through the questions in the chat and we will try, time permitting, to ask as many questions as we possibly can. So I think we are ready now. So please permit me to start, and I will switch off my video during the presentation so that we can be sure bandwidth is great. Thank you. Okay. So first of all, I would like to explain our agenda today. We will start with some general information about the NC CARA tool. Then I will present an overview of IATF published information about this tool. Then I will explain the TÜV Rheinland NC CARA process. We have already received some questions and answers, and I think they will be interesting for everybody to see. So we will go through those. And at the end of the session, there will be a Q&A session. And please remember that you should use this functionality bar with a Q&A function. Okay, so CARA, what does it actually mean? CARA means Common Audit Report Application. It was created by IATF and as per sanctioned interpretations number 13 to the IATF rules becomes mandatory to use as of 1st of January this year. You may wonder why IATF decided to have such a tool, and the rationale behind this is harmonization. For several years, there have been discussions and issues because with different CBs, there were 40 plus different ways of documenting an audit or an audit result. And IATF recognized that certification bodies, they don't have a unique or a unanimous structure and the same level of detail for all their audit reports. And also there are a different number of associated documents that form an audit report. And this variation was just so great from one CB to the other that IATF decided they wanted a common tool. The CARA tool is actually split in two different applications. For one, we have the CARA tool. This is the application created by IATF for auditors in order to create audit reports. This tool doesn't need to be used by customers, so this is actually not for you to use. Then the second part is the NC CARA tool. And this is the presentation I'm about to do today. So it is an application also created by IATF for customers in order to work on their non-conformities. But it is only an editor. It is not an intelligent application that has functionalities like reminders or things like this. Okay, so CARA is a browser-based application that uses so-called JSON files. What is very important that you always use the same browser. For IATF, it's possible to use Google Chrome, you can use Firefox or Microsoft Edge, but please do not use the Internet Explorer as it doesn't work. It's always important that you also use the latest version of your browser so that it's up to date. All data are only stored locally in your browser cache, and then of course you can save it directly to your device. You can run this application offline and an internet connection is not needed. So it's a browser-based but an offline tool. Before you start, one very important point, you need to activate or you need to check that you didn't activate delete cache, because if you activate this, once you close your browser window, you will lose all your data. So this is really important, so please check this. Okay, so what is this famous JSON file? To be very honest, I didn't know before either. It is a JavaScript object notation file, so it's basically a standard text-based format, and it's widely used for transmitting data in web applications. What is very important is that it's a safe way of doing this, and it does not contain any executable contents. If you would like to see what this desktop of the NC CARA tool actually looks like, there you can see it. And very important here, there's a little button that says instructions. So if you click on the little arrow, it will also tell you which settings you need to make in your browser. IATF has also published a lot of information about this CARA or NC CARA tool. First of all, there's a video. Here's actually a play button, which you can't see. And this video tutorial is very good. It goes through the entire process. It is in English, and you can see how this tool works. Then there's an NC CARA wiki page. You can find it under this link. And there are two functionalities which are very good. Obviously here you have a little search box. So you can search for any topic that comes to your mind, and you can then read up the information on that. And another important part is this one. If you click on the service desk, it means that you can actually write an email if you have a question, and this email will be answered by IATF. What is also available is instructions for clients. This can be printed out, and it's actually a very detailed document that goes through the NC CARA process. I can really recommend this. It's easy to understand, and it's a very good document you can use. Okay, so let's talk about the CARA process. How does it work within the TÜV Rheinland landscape? Basically, there are about 7 steps to this process. So let's start with the first one. The auditor will send the CARA audit report as a PDF file to you by email. Then the auditor will also send another file, the NC report, but as this document file, this JSON file, to the customer by email. Like I explained before, this text-based file for transmitting data. Then the customer needs to save, please, both files, save them locally on your computer so you have them available. What you then need to do is you import the NC report, this NC JSON file, into the NC CARA tool in order to work on the non-conformities and to go through the different steps that are required to handle non-conformities: correction, prevention, root cause analysis, and so on. What you then need to do is to save all the changes you've made by filling in your non-conformity report and to save this NC JSON file locally again on your computer. Then within the CARA application, the updated NC report has to be downloaded, and this report you will just send back by email to your auditor. And then the auditor again imports your updated NC report into his CARA tool and looks at your information. And if there are any further corrections needed or some clarification or additional documents, your auditor will get in touch with you again by email, and you may need to update your JSON file again. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail. So first of all, you will receive an audit report. So your auditor will use his CARA tool to create the audit report and then sends it to you. So he will send it by email, and you have the audit report as a PDF file. Then the next step is, of course, the creation of the NC report. So again, your auditor uses his NC CARA tool to create the NC report and again sends it to you by email. And this is the JSON file. Right. So now it is for you to work with this NC report. So first thing you need to please do is save the file locally or in your company network in order to be sure that you have the file available. And then you press the upload button and import it into your NC CARA tool. So now you have the JSON report available in the NC CARA tool. Then you work on the report. You fill in all the information needed, then again make sure you save it, and then from this NC CARA tool you download it with this button, and then you have your updated NC report. This again is then sent by email to your auditor. So he receives the filled in NC report. And what happens then is that your auditor takes your updated report, uploads it with this button into his CARA tool. And then, of course, he reviews it. What is very important is that there is no link between the PDF audit report and the NC CARA tool. Your auditor creates the audit report from his CARA tool and also the NC report. But the NC CARA tool is not used by the auditor. It is for you. And it is only needed to work on non-conformities. So only for customers, not for auditors. Auditors use their own CARA tool. So basically the JSON file, the NC report goes together with your NC CARA tool. We have some customers that like to use our SIS portal, and it is very important to know that NC management activities for IATF must now be only done in the NC CARA tool. And also it is important to understand that IATF required deadlines are actually only visible in the NC CARA tool. Right. So let's try and look at some questions that were previously submitted to us and hopefully are very interesting to you too. So first of all, how on earth can you get into this NC CARA tool? Well, you actually don't need a user account and you also don't need login data. Your process only starts once you receive the so-called JSON file with the non-conformities from your auditor. And you need this file in order to be able to work at all with the NC CARA tool. Without a JSON file, you can do nothing with the tool. And the first step is, of course, save the JSON file on your computer. Then you just copy this link into your browser window and then the NC CARA tool opens. No password needed, just copy the link. What you then need to do is you load this JSON file into your tool by clicking on the upload button. So then a window will open, and under this section, NC and actions, you will see your different non-conformities. You will see the classification, minor, major, and so on. You will see deadlines that are required by IATF, for instance, 20 days if you have a major non-conformity for the submission of an action plan. And also you will see due dates, like 60 days later when you need to submit evidence. And if you say, I would like to have a PDF file of my non-conformities, then of course this is possible too. The only thing you need to do is to print report, and this will generate a PDF file. So then for working on your non-conformities, you go to this section that I just showed you before with the NCs and the actions to this table. And there are two buttons for each non-conformity. With the edit button, you can fill in the information that is needed. You go through the different corrective action steps, as you know, as you've done it 100 times. And after you've finished, you click on the Save button in order to make sure that your JSON file is updated. And when you are in this section, and once you used obviously to the filling in button and the save button, then of course your part is finished. So you have then completed everything that needed to be done to be completed by the organization. Then you send this file back to the auditor, and there is another section for the auditor where he reviews your actions and where he also says, yes, I can accept it, or no, I can't. Okay, so maybe another interesting question. How do I get access to my audit report? For the audit report, you do not need the NC CARA tool. There's actually no actual link between the audit report and the NC CARA tool. The audit report is simply a PDF file, as it always has been in the past, and will be sent to you by email by your auditor. And also, there is no need for the NC CARA tool to read your report. NC CARA is simply for non-conformities. Also, there's no need for you to do anything within this audit report. It is just a PDF file which you've saved somewhere where you can find it again, so that you have your audit report available. But for you, there is no action to be done with this audit report. For the non-conformity report, which again is sent to you as a JSON file, this is the only file that you need to upload into the NC CARA tool so that you are actually able to work on your non-conformities. So maybe an interesting question: who can read your audit report and who can read your NC reports? Well, your audit report and your NC reports, they will only be available for you and your auditor. Only you and your auditor are able to see these files. It is just like in the past. There is no change. IATF cannot access your data. Your data is only stored on your local device or in your company intranet. There is no cloud. The tool cannot communicate. And you can exchange files via email within your organization as you wish, same as before. But remember, a JSON file can only be read with the NC CARA tool. But this tool is a browser-based offline application. You need no internet for this tool. So what happens if you say, I'm not 100% happy, I may need some changes to my audit report? Since the audit report is a PDF file, it cannot be changed by you. And if you need some changes, and find that some information needs to be improved, then please inform your auditor and discuss it with him. And then he will need to make those changes that you need or any corrections in his CARA tool. This cannot be done in the NC CARA tool. NC CARA is only for working on non-conformities. Okay, so what happens when you need to send corrective actions? Well, basically everything remains as it was before. You send them by email to your auditor. Once you have uploaded the JSON file in the NC CARA tool, and once you have updated all the necessary information, you may also attach evidences. You may attach these evidences either directly in the NC CARA tool, but there it is only possible to attach PDF or JPEG files. If you say, I would really like to submit a PPT, or you would really like to submit an Excel file, you can either convert those to a PDF file, or you can send them directly by email to your auditor. So you can attach the JSON file plus the different evidence files and put them all in one email to your auditor. Quite important for your understanding is that there is no cloud. So you cannot exchange files in the tool. This doesn't work. File exchange can only happen via email. As you remember, it is an offline tool, so nothing is, or you cannot communicate at all with this tool. So how does CARA impact your internal processes, and what changes do you maybe need to expect? Well, basically what is mainly happening is that you only change the data format in which your NC management is done. Now the NC report is a JSON file instead of a PDF file, which it was previously. But again, this file is sent to you by your auditor by email. And the NC CARA tool is the tool that enables you to fill in your NC report. It is an editor. It is like your pencil to input your information. As I mentioned before, you can add PDF and JPEG files as supporting documents for evidences. You can do this directly in the NC CARA tool. You can embed those files and attach them there. Or you may also send them separately by email to your auditor, like you have done in the past, just the same. I would actually recommend to send them separately, because then you can also zip them, because I think it's 10 megabytes you can only, as file size, that is only permitted in total for this JSON file. And once you have updated all the information, once you have filled in all these little boxes which say to be completed by the organization, so once you've gone through all the different corrective action steps within your NC management process and have attached the evidences, then again, please save this updated JSON file on your computer or in your intranet. Make sure you have it saved. And don't close your browser before. And then you need to send it back by email to your auditor so that he can review this file then. So what about the content of this new CARA report that you will receive? Well, I talked actually to IATF about this, and they told me that they wanted to distinguish themselves, to be different from the commodity standards like 9001 and 14001. And therefore, now I would say that the report is more detailed than it was before. Okay, so maybe confidentiality is also a topic that is a concern to you. Well, first of all, there's absolutely no data saved anywhere in the web. It is an offline application. And there's also nothing like a cloud. So you use the CARA tool or the NC CARA tool only to fill in data, but everything that you fill in is saved locally on your computer. And the CARA tool, the NC CARA tool, only acts as an editor. It is nothing more. You only exchange data via email with your auditor. There is no file exchange possible from within the NC CARA tool. And also it is not an intelligent tool, if you please forgive me for saying this. It does not send out notifications that something needs to be changed. It doesn't remind you that a due date is coming up or that you need to attach further evidences, nothing. All this information is not possible to be exchanged by using the NC CARA tool. It is simply for working, for filling in the corrective action steps for your non-conformities. And some news from IATF for the next release of CARA, which is planned in April this year. And then they also plan to use encryption for JSON files, we were told. Yeah, so what about compliance? The NC CARA tool is a mandatory requirement from IATF globally. NC CARA does not come from TÜV, it comes from IATF. And it's not only valid in Germany, it is valid all over the world. It was published in the Sanctioned Interpretations number 13 to IATF rules. This, I think, happened in August, if I'm not totally wrong. And therefore, since the rules are contractually binding and any sanctioned interpretations to the rules too, therefore the NC CARA tool is contractually binding as well. But nobody will be able to see or use your JSON file as you exchange it only with your auditor. And your audit report and your non-conformities, they are not visible in the internet. You work offline. The only tool that the IATF uses is the IATF database. And this, I think everybody knows already for a very long time. So it is only you who can decide with whom you may wish to share this information. And if you wish to share this information, so if you want to exchange or send or forward your JSON file or PDF file, you need to actively do that. The tool does nothing, and there is no functionality within the tool to forward anything. So you need an email client to actually send something out. And for your report, it will be just as it was before. Now it's also a PDF file, so there is actually no change for your report. Okay. So what happens if you say, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure if I really want to use CARA. Well, I'm sorry to say that if you do not wish to use CARA, then unfortunately you will not be able to complete your non-conformity management because you cannot use the JSON file anywhere else. You need the NC CARA tool in order to work on your non-conformities. And if you do not wish to use CARA, you're also in violation with the valid IATF rules. And any failure to close non-conformities will of course result in the initiation of the decertification process. And after finally no corrections have been handed in, it means that your certificate will be lost. So what is this timeline for CARA? CARA is mandatory to use as of 1st of January 2021, everywhere in the world, globally. So what happens if you had an audit in November and you have non-conformities? Do you need to use NC CARA? Well, for audits that started before the 1st of January, nobody needs to use the NC CARA tool. Then anything required for non-conformity management is handled in the old way of documenting an audit. So even, let's say that maybe you had a major non-conformity and a special audit needs to be conducted sometime after January, I don't know, maybe we say February, and then you need to get a special audit report, and also the NC management needs to be done. This will all be done in the old documentation. CARA will only be valid for those audits that start initially after 1st of January. So if you say, I really do have some further questions about CARA, what can I do? Well, I would really recommend that you ask your auditor, because your auditor has been intensively trained on the CARA tool that he needs to use. And he is very knowledgeable about this process. So he's always a good contact point for you, who would always also be able to at least address the topic and find the right person to answer you would be your key account manager. And this should be, I would say, your second choice. And if both of them are unable to help you, then if you can remember, I showed you the CARA wiki page, and there's this service desk button you can click. And then, of course, you can write an email, describe the issue, the problem that you have, and send it directly to IATF. And this works well because we've heard that they are quite busy answering questions at the moment. And I can also recommend to you that you visit our IATF website, because on this website, you will find all these questions and answers again. You will also find the presentation, and you will also find a link to the video or this video tutorial on how to use the NC CARA tool. So I think hopefully I've answered most of it, but maybe not all of it. So I would like to start this Q&A session together with my colleague Christopher, and maybe we can now go through any questions that were asked in the chat.
Yeah, thanks Daniela for introducing us to the NC CARA tool, and also a warm welcome from my side. So I will try to manage all your questions now. Please, again, motivating you, if something is not clear, use the Q&A function in the bottom of the tool of Zoom, so we can try to answer all the open questions that you have so far until the end of the webinar in 25 minutes. First, I want to emphasize again that all this stuff and the slide deck and also a recording of the webinar will be shared afterwards, also including a test JSON file. So you shall be able and will be able also to use this and see how it works for you in your browser and get a little bit more familiar with this. So this kind of follow-up package will be provided to every participant of this webinar. Okay, let's start, and I will have a first look at the Q&As, and we have several questions, and especially two with regard to the report. And that means, can I save the PDF version of the transferred non-conformity report after sending this report to the auditor? And can I delete the browser cache then? And secondly, also with regard to this, could you explain again how the workflow between the auditor and the audited organization is? So maybe this is a combined question you can answer.
Okay, so of course, yes, you can and you should save a PDF version of the transferred NC report. If you remember the slide where it showed the NCs and action field at the bottom, there was this little button you could click which said print report. If you print, then you will actually generate a PDF version. And this, of course, you can save anywhere you wish to save it. And yes, once you have saved everything, you can delete your browser cache, clearly. But please remember to save it before. Right. So if you want me to explain the process again, okay. It starts with you receiving the JSON file, and you take this file, you press the upload button on your NC CARA tool, and then your non-conformities are visible. Then in the NC CARA tool, you work on the different sections like containment, correction, prevention, root cause analysis, everything you've done 100 times before. And after you've done this, you also look at what kind of evidences are required that you may need to send as well. And you either attach them within the NC CARA tool or you send them separately by email to your auditor. So after you've done all this filling in of all the non-conformity relevant information, you save the file. Very important. Please, please, please press save. And then you also save it locally somewhere or in your company intranet, sorry. Then you download this button, this file with a download button, and then you send it by email to your auditor. So then the auditor opens his CARA tool, which is very much different to your tool, and imports your report into his CARA version. And there he can check all the information that you have provided to him, and he can go through the different non-conformity steps as well. And then he comes to a section which is for him. So he can either accept the non-conformity or say, oh, we need to do something else here, and contact you again. So after he has looked at your information and decided if it was acceptable or not, then he will input this into the report and send this JSON file back to you. I hope I answered this.
I would say yes, you make it very clear. And maybe also, again, I think this process is very well described. Of course, a lot of information, but very well described in the slide deck that we will share afterwards in this one, of course. Also, maybe staying in the process of this one and working with the CARA tool, there's a question, is it possible to start working on the report, exit CARA software and re-enter and continue working in the section where you stayed in the previous session? So more a question about working on the previous data you have started with in the beginning.
Yes, of course. I mean, obviously you cannot finish everything in one day. I think this is totally clear to everybody. And of course, IATF always says you must use a multidisciplinary approach so that you talk to the relevant stakeholders, and you may want somebody else within your organization to complete one part of the audit of the non-conformity report. So yes, the important part is you can save it at any time, and then when you save it and you download it to your computer, and then when you open the NC CARA again, if you haven't deleted the cache, you will come back to this report, or if you have deleted the cache, then you need to re-import it. So it's all in the offline application, and once you have saved it, it is available, and you can start again from the point where you left before.
Okay, I think this is also now more clear, and directly in this direction, maybe a more critical question. When someone is leaving the company who was in charge of the non-conformity, is their backup only stored on his or her PC? So how can we transfer this kind of data maybe to different colleagues?
Very important question, yes. This person, I don't know if you mean somebody within your organization, or if you mean our auditor who decides to, maybe he has won the lottery and wants to do something else. But if it's within your organization, excuse me, I think it's always clear that you have to tell everybody that they have to save the files. So the files, excuse me. So the files need to be saved locally, but that doesn't necessarily mean your computer. You can also save the file, of course, in your company intranet, in a place where you save maybe all non-conformity actions. So then when this person within your company would leave, then of course you would still have the JSON file and the completed parts of the non-conformity report that were already worked on. If you mean our auditor, it is fairly the same here, because internally we have the regulation that after 5 days after the audit, the draft report and the non-conformities need to be uploaded into our SAP system. As you know, within IATF, we have the 4I principle. So there's also a veto, a review process that needs to be done. So everything that the auditor does, writes, needs to be checked again by another person, by a third person, in order to make sure that it is compliant to accreditation regulations. So also here with us, even if the auditor decided to leave, you know, the file would still be available. So there would be no data loss.
Okay. Maybe there's a question directly related or more further comment. Thank you for this explanation, but you cannot control it standard, right? So for example, routines that any JSON file is always saved on a shared service, shared drive pardon. So it's always on the personal computer of somebody.
Yes, obviously it is the responsibility. It is the responsibility of the person who handles the non-conformity within your organization, and it's the responsibility of our auditor to make sure that no data loss occurs and that the file is saved.
Okay. Then we have a question with regard, or several with regard to the access again to the NC CARA tool. Where do I get the URL from? How is it shared with me?
It's very simple. You actually can easily Google it. If you go into Google and say NC CARA tool, you will come directly to the web page, or you just use the link that I have included in this presentation, and then you will also get there. And in this application, you can actually do totally nothing. Well, you can read the instructions and you can look at the settings, but in order to work with it, you need a JSON file.
Okay. Then I think also with regard to the application itself, do we need to change specific settings for CARA, or are there predefined settings? In case the settings need adjustments, this will vary from browser to browser? So I think you already answered this, because this is a browser-based application. I think on the PC or laptop, no settings needs to be adjusted.
Yeah, also, there's a useful information and on the instructions button that I showed you before. So if you read this will also help to clarify this. My recommendation is within your organization, always use the same browser and make sure that your browser is up to date. You know, CARA has a tendency not to work well with old versions. So this is also the reason why, really, to be honest, the Internet Explorer, it doesn't work with. It's too old for CARA. So if you use an updated browser, and if there's more than one people working on the file, maybe there's 5 people, and you all use the same browser, this is, of course, the safest way to work with this JSON file. What is not important is that your auditor uses the same browser. Here in TÜV Rheinland, we always use Firefox, but for you, you can use Chrome, you can use Edge, or you can use Firefox. Please do not use the Internet Explorer. And important hint at the beginning, of course, remember this delete cache thing.
Okay, then a question with regard to specific non-conformities within the report. Is it possible to see the content of the non-conformity report before we fill?
I should hope so. Obviously, your auditor will have a closing meeting, and in the closing meeting, he will go through the non-conformities that he identified. So directly within your organization, last day of the audit, your auditor will explain to you what non-conformities he has found. And also what happens is when you upload the JSON file by clicking on the button into your NC CARA tool, the NC and action section opens up, and there you can read the entire non-conformity without doing anything.
Okay, then we have several questions about general NC CARA tool or the CARA tool itself. So maybe I try to combine them a little bit. So there's a statement with regard to this. So basically the CARA tool is a platform to ensure the report format is kept. Is it right?
Yes.
Yes, maybe then also important, but I think that's also clear, is the tool mandatory for every certification body? And certainly also the question about the purpose. What is the advantage of NC CARA tool as compared to the old PDF format?
Yeah, what can I say? I think it's the harmonization topic, and that everybody goes through the same steps. So the entire format is 100% the same from one CB to another CB. And also it is totally clear that the structure is always the same. So we have a total harmonization and a simplification because everything is always the same. Never mind if it's done in China, if it's done in the US, in Germany, in Europe, anywhere in the world, it is always the same.
Okay. Then I see a question again about managing this one. So how CARA tool identify which report is or to which organization belongs the report? Does every JSON file, I would assume something like this, has an ID number or something similar?
Mm-hmm. Yes, every JSON file is directly linked to the audit report for one organization. So every file has a unique number, of course. And what I would recommend you to do is, of course, not change the file name, but at the end of the file, you should add a revision. So especially if more than one person work on the file, it is much more easy if you have a revision and you can see which is the last one that you worked on. Or if you say, oh no, I was actually more happy with the previous one, then you have saved the different versions of the file. But it is correct that for each report, you have a dedicated JSON file.
Okay, and then, yeah, maybe I can emphasize again, if any question is not answered or you have some open points left, please use the Q&A function, please, because now I'm coming to the last question that we have currently here. And this is more with regard to costs and effort. Is IATF charging a fee per non-conformity to use CARA to us as certification body? And if yes, who is charged for that in the end?
No, it's not. There is no fee for using CARA. It is just a mandatory tool. Okay.
Okay, so
very good.
No questions left so far. Maybe I can then repeat again, because I see also some comments in the chat function about the ability to have a test run or sending the file. So again, yes, within our follow-up package, you will receive the slide deck, so you will be able to reread these things and also get all the respective links. You will get a webinar recording as well as a test file from this JSON file, so you will be able also to have a first session or a test run for yourself using this one in the respective URL of the NC CARA tool. So, thank you.
Yes, maybe I don't think you can do anything wrong in CARA. This is really not possible. You know, you should familiarize yourself with the tool. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. It's well described. In the settings, you can choose your language. So you don't necessarily need to work in English. You can choose which language you want. and it guides you quite well through the different steps. So please don't be afraid to use it, and please don't be worried that you can do something wrong and then IATF will know. IATF doesn't know, cannot know. It's offline. It's impossible for them to see what you do there. So it is something new. It is a modern way of handling your non-conformities. It goes away from different structures, documents, files that were used before. And I think we have a chance to make it simpler and unanimous for everybody in this world. And I think this is a good chance, you know, that everybody uses the same tool and hence inputs the same information, which makes it more transparent and more clear. If there are no more questions, well, what can I say? Thank you very much. Thank you for your good questions. For me, it was a pleasure to help you a little bit to understand CARA. At the end of this session, there is a survey. So if you would be kind enough to complete the survey, this also helps us in our process of continuous improvement. And I'd be very grateful if you could do this. Thank you to Christopher, who helped me to prepare this webinar, and of course, who supported me a lot. I don't think it would have been possible without him. So thanks a lot to Christopher. And what else can I say? Thanks again for your participation. Thank you for your attention. Please stay healthy and have a very successful year 2021. All the best to you. Thank you. And I think if there's nothing else here, we've come to an end. Thank you.